Hey there friendos, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Matt and we are back again with Marvel Future Fight, and we are back with the patch notes for the 0.1 update. So let's get into it. And before we start, just want to say thanks to everyone for subscribing. I'm trying to hit 100 subscribers as soon as possible, so if you could hit that like and subscribe button, will really help you boy out. And if you could share it around as well, that'd be poggers. Anyway, let's get into it because there is a lot to unpack in this video today. So without further ado, let's get started. So yes, Avengers Forever is the update, which is kind of nice. I was thinking it was going to be more of a West Coast Avengers thing, but they've gone with Avengers Forever. Obviously we've got Iron Man, Ghost Rider, Black Widow and Blade, which is weird that we never got a sneak peek for Blade. That was kind of strange. He just kind of appeared in the key art, which I'm pretty sure is not the first time that's happened, so I hope that doesn't mean that he's bad, especially since he gets his tier 3 in this one. You'd have thought they'd have made more of a big deal about him. We get huge new updates in terms of new GBR with Dormammu. We get the tier 4 for Iron Man and a whole host of other things. But let's start off with the uniforms, because that's the main thing everyone always is concerned about. So Iron Man, he's back to being a hero as we expected, and he keeps his really cool passive from his superior Iron Man or Invincible Iron Man, whichever one it was, uniform, where he increases damage to 200% when the enemy or boss gets down to 30% health. So that's great. It looks like his tier 3 skill is pretty much staying the same as it was before. So it doesn't look like that has changed massively. We get the usual skill damage, bonus damage, etc, etc, and all of his passives. They never tend to change too much between iterations. It's interesting that his third skill is a movement skill, which is great. I always think these ones are great. So the Repulsor Blast is going to be one where you get to kite around the arena, which always I think really adds to the immersion of a game, because it actually makes you feel like you are being the character as opposed to just stand there spamming all the buttons. So that's really cool. We see that he does have silence, burn and paralysis on his 5 skills, and he does keep his heal, so we could see him coming for ABX. And it's great that he gets to keep his heal as well, because as we all know, every character needs a heal now for World Boss Legend. So yeah, it doesn't look like they've changed too much. I know that it's going to, obviously there'll be aesthetic changes, but it looks like pretty much it's just a solid rework for him, and we'll obviously have to wait and see how much more damage he's going to do with the tier 4. So then on to Black Widow, and this again is where I thought they were going to go West Coast Avengers, because they've got Golden Gate Vigilante here. She looks great, by the way. That icon is absolutely stunning. She looks like she's, you know, doing headshots of L'Oreal here or something with that new icon, which looks great. But do the skills look great? Well, let's have a look. Unfortunately, the uniform effect is one of these really annoying chance to do it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm very much in the school of Yoda's do or do not. There is no try. So having something which only procs certain times and not at others doesn't sit right with me. But I'll be interested to hear what you guys have to say. And obviously we'll have to see how often it actually does activate when we get her in game and get to test it out. So yeah, we see the usual kind of standards for her passives. You know, increased dodge rate and ignore dodge, and increased damage, which is great. Skills, they look like they've very much gone back to normal standard melee attacks, as opposed to obviously helicopters and motorbikes flying around everywhere. It's interesting that she does get a lot of incapacitation, but there's no the chance of immunity to damage is okay, but it's not great. There's no accumulation on any of her skills, though she gets a flat buff on the 4th with the increase to all damages and all attacks and defense and the immunity, and then she gets a heal on the 5th with the invincibility. So I'm not sure how much more that's going to increase her worth as a character. Now obviously there's some argument as to whether or not she should have a heal. Canonically, she's not a a super powered person. She's just a very well trained human. So having a heal canonically shouldn't really make sense. But from a game perspective, obviously every tier 3 needs it now for World Boss Legend. So we shall see how she gets on. So then next we have Robbie Reyes, who's looking very strong with that metal eyebrow game there. Another great looking icon, although he looks more like a character from Twisted Metal, really, than from Marvel Future Fight. But anyway, I digress. So uniform effect is looking really strong. Chain hit damage increase. We got that huge buff against supervillains and decrease in damage received from supervillains, as you would expect, because obviously he is the Spirit of Vengeance. We have a great passive skill here. So it's not even his leadership; it's just a passive skill. So all allies, all flame allies that is, we get the 8% chance to become immune to fire. I don't know why it's 80%. I don't know where they get these arbitrary numbers. It should be 100% really, because the flame characters should all just be immune to flame damage. Human Torch, Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes, they shouldn't really be taking any flame damage. But hey, there we go. At least it gives us another support character. And then we can see with his skills, it's pretty much all burn damage. We don't get any real improvements to the third until the third skill, where he gets the guard hit, the flat increase to attacks and defenses. Gets a heal on the fourth with the chance to penetrate, or 70% chance to penetrate, super armor, barrier, etc. And then on the fifth, we get the stripping of the active buffs and the elemental fire resistance down, so it's going to obviously lead to him doing more damage. So that could be an interesting one, could make him strong for PvE content. We shall have to wait and see. And finally Blade, who once again seems like the forgotten son. He slides in here with his Vampire Slayer, making him my second favourite B-word Vampire Slayer. But hey, you can't all be Buffy. So let's have a look at his skills, because once again we saw a really cool uniform last time, but the effects weren't that great. And this time the uniform effects are pretty much the same. Interestingly, he gets a new leadership. It's Weapon Master allies only. It's great, but it's still pretty niche. I don't know if it should have been combat or heroes or something else. Weapon Master feels a little too niche. It's great for Logan, and yeah, that's about it. Guess you can have Blade lead Taskmaster support. But there we go. We shall see. In terms of his actual skills, obviously he has his passive skill Bleed, which does the heal for him, and then it looks like he's got a skill, his fifth skill was going to do healing as well. Then we've got just a lot of bleed damage on his 1 to 5. His third skill, we get the super armor and the immunity. He does get burn damage on there as well, which is nice. And then it looks like we got accumulation on the fourth. And then, yeah, like I say, the HP recovery and that a 100% chance to add 50% attack on all crits on his fifth. So that's a nice little bonus. It'd be interesting to see how well that works with the tier 3. So let's have a look at the tier 3 skill. And burn damage, bleed damage, a lot of your same invincibility, immunity to penetrate, a lot of the standard stuff we see. We haven't seen anything groundbreaking in terms of a tier 3 skill for a long time now. But let's have a look and see how it... No! Yo! Okay, that's cool. So it's sword work, then he brings out the guns, shoots around, and then he does the old rest in peace with the sword, and then he does the little slash and the turn, where he turns the sword at the end. It's straight from the 98 Blade movie, guys. That's awesome. Yo, props to the devs. Little touches like that really make a big difference. You can tell that they really studied that film and they were like, hey, let's put that animation in the game. That looks awesome. That's really, really cool. Ah, that's great. I love that. Love to see it. You love to see it. Okay, and then this is where again we get the West Coast Avengers. Ghost Rider, Wasp, Nadia Van Dyne and Sam Alexander Nova all get an awakening. So that's cool. Great to see more characters getting... I know a lot of people thought, oh, tier 4 means that other characters aren't going to get there. Or, well, they've answered that question by saying actually no, not everyone's going to be getting tier 4 all at once. And hey, we're still going to be giving out everyone awakening skills and tier 3s. So that's really positive news. Good to see. So let's have a look and see how they play out. We know that they all pretty much look the same, just with a focus on each different character, but that looks really cool. You've got the neon pink of the pin particles against the blue of Alexander's energy blast, and then you've got the flames in the car coming from Robbie Reyes. Yeah, that looks really, really dope. Obviously different focus on each character as pertains to their individual one, but that looks great. That looks really, really great. Okay, so let's get on to the main course, as it were, the tier 4. So yes, Iron Man gets a tier 4 skill. Actual skill itself, it's not like some super mega tier 3 on steroids. It's just basically going back to the old days of bringing in an assist. And I don't know if any of you used to play the old Capcom games, the Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, all of those. It's basically that. It's an assist skill you're bringing in. So you can see here, Iron Man uses the tier 4, brings in Cap, and it says that it creates a shield that does damage and can regenerate up to 75% of your HP. But it doesn't look like the shield actually, it's not like a physical shield on the ground, which you have to stay in order to get the regeneration of HP like you do with Ancient One, Doctor Strange, etc. It looks like it just comes in, you get the shield and the regeneration, and I guess it's like having a shield on yourself. As long as you don't take damage, you actually recover your health that way, whilst Cap comes in, does a few hits. Okay, so let's see how we go about getting tier 4. So as a tier 3 character, you have to go in and get your potential again. So either by going into World Boss Legend and either using Iron Man as a character or as a support, or you can have him in one of the 5 striker positions and get the potential that way, which you can currently do only in World Boss Legend. And then it looks like we're going to have some new materials to use to rank him up. Life Seed. Okay, so to get him from level 70 to level 80, we can use biometrics. Increase by +1 every 2 levels. So yeah, so it's the same as from 60 to 70. So you go 62, 70 to 62, 64, blah blah blah. Now it's 72, 74, etc, etc. And you're going to have to increase the gears from 25 to 30. And instead of using TCP and EOD, it looks like we've got some new items. Carbonadium and Soul of Faultine. Okay. Which you can get from GBR Dormammu and World Boss Legend. Okay. So yeah, so then you have to increase all his skills, 1 to 5, not the tier 3. But you have to increase those with that Life Seed. And then you need a book. But rather than Speed, Blast, etc., it's just a one kind of book, the Book of the Vishanti, which you get from GBR Dormammu. So they've kind of ruined the next surprise, I guess, which is the new GBR. But obviously, I guess they have to explain the tier 4 first, so that's fine. That's cool. Okay, so then the Striker skill is unlocked when a hero gets to tier 4. Now, is it just Cap? Or do you get to choose from a bunch? Or is it... Okay, equip one character as a Striker. Yep. The skill level will be based on the upgrade level of the equipped hero. And +2 additional levels. So obviously, the stronger the character you're equipping, the better. So you want to be equipping tier 3s until obviously we get more tier 4s. And the Striker skills, it looks like you can pick from any of your roster. So you get an additional buff for your character and the character who comes in as an assist. Or whilst you're using your tier 4, the tier 3 skill gauge will not be charged. Huh. That's interesting. And whilst you're using the tier 3 skill, the tier 4 won't be charged. So it looks like it may be a balancing act. I think with this one though, given the fact that it's a huge HP recovery, it may be a case that you use your tier 3 for PvE and your tier 4 for PvP. We shall obviously have to wait and see. We'll have to wait until we've all got the characters to tier 4 and are testing them. So, anyway, yeah, GBR. We've got a new GBR. We've got Dormammu. A lot of people thought we were going to get him when we saw the dev notes and we saw that cool background where we all thought, a lot of people thought was Dark Dimension. I know some people thought it might have been the Quantumania background and we might have been getting Kang, but obviously it's been confirmed that it's Dormammu. So that's cool. So basically we have 3 difficulties of GBR now. Level 1, Master Mold. Level 2, Galactus. And then level 3, Dormammu. So that pretty much hinting that level 3 is going to be the hardest. And as such it requires more boost points to increase the reward levels. So instead of 35 it's 40. Which is a bit of a bummer, but it is what it is. It's not that much of a difference. Obviously the more boost points you're pouring in, the more difference it's going to make anyway. And then it's saying don't use any of your characters after reset until the update is done if you want to use them straight away. Obviously, that makes sense. Okay. And the most important aspect is now you can do GBR solo. Although it'll be interesting to see how strong you have to be to clear Dormammu solo. We know that Master Mold can be done easily. Galactus can pretty much be done easily, but if you have a strong enough roster, some people may still want to go in with others just because it's going to save time if you don't have the biggest built out rosters. And this is very interesting. Dormammu now drops bios. So for those of us who are really old and who were playing the game back in the OG days, you used to get Dormammu for completing. Back when we had special missions in game, there were bonus missions attached to them. If you cleared all those bonus things, then you would get Dormammu as a free character. Then they got rid of special missions, you had to pay crystals for him. Now he's back as a free drop, so that's really cool. That's really cool that they've done that. So as well as dropping obviously the new materials, the Book of Ashanti, etc., you can also get Dormammu bios. That's great. But as we were speculating, they have made Dimension Rift more important because that's where you're going to get your card reforging and CCP reforging cubes. So both of those have moved over to Dimension Rift now. So Timeline Survival is pretty much going to be the loser there because that's only going to be for Essence and Artifacts, which no one cares about. Okay, so they've improved the rewards for all World Boss Legends now. So they've increased the amount of EOD and TCP because you're going to need it, obviously, for getting characters from level 70 to level 80. So that's really cool. Just as the same they did with BAM and Chaos and Ornstones beforehand, when you were getting characters from 60 to 70. Still going to get your TCP, but you're going to get your new tier 4 components as well. And then the same, obviously, very small chance drops of CTPs. But yeah, CTP reforging cores have also moved over to Dimension. So Dimension Rifts are going to be important, which is good because they only brought that game mode in. And it doesn't look like Multiverse Invasion is going to be like blown out of the water, although it is pretty much already as it was. But it doesn't look like Tier 4 is going to affect it that much. So that's good that they brought in these new aspects for the game. They brought in these new upgrades, but they haven't really shifted the meta too much so that the game is going to be completely outbalanced. Not going to talk about the artifacts because nobody cares. We've got a new future pass, great. Some very cool looking icon. The blade icon looks sick. That's a really nice one. Okay, we got a new uniform collection. Interesting, because we never got one for Doctor Strange. That's very interesting. Huh. Okay. Oh, this looks like it might be important. Minimum Future Fight OS for Apple devices has changed. So a minimum spec has to be iOS 12 and iOS operating system 5.1. That feels like it should be a separate post for Apple users. I'm not sure how many people play on Apple as opposed to Android, but that feels important. Some other functions have been changed, minor fixes. Arabic will no longer be supported. I'm not sure how much that... Obviously they must have looked at the metrics to see how many people use that, but that feels like it's an important thing. Should be a separate post again for that as well, really, but okay. And then it looks like some other minor bug fixes have been changed as well. Okay, wow, there's a lot to break down, Okay, I'm going to say I love it because I think there's a lot of great stuff in this update, and it hasn't changed or shifted the meta to make things, you know, unplayable for any of the players really. In fact, it's made content more important, which is a great thing. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like I say, there's a lot of stuff to get through, and we won't know a lot of it until we actually get our hands on. But I think it's really positive. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you guys soon in the next video where we actually get to see.